All right, cool. So we are live, another session of Ruby Monday, and being able to discuss our community project. So thanks everyone for joining in again. It's good to see familiar faces, and it's good to be back. Thanks, Farish, for covering for me last week. I appreciate that very much. And we're starting and kicking off the new project. So Farish, if you wouldn't mind, especially since I wasn't here last week and you were, and you kind of got some of the groundwork discussed on that. Would you mind filling us in on where we're at and what are the next steps? Maybe that'll give us some framework for discussions today.
So here's where we're at. We started to talk about the project, and what we kind of realized was we might have been starting too big of a framework. So after going back and forth on discussions and what people want to do, we decided to start with something basic. Right now, the app, you log in, and when you log in, you either use Twitter or GitHub to log in. When you make a commit on GitHub, the app will send out a tweet saying, hey, I just added a commit to this. And that's the basic premise, and then we're going to build up from there. But we decided let's scale back the framework because we started going into these things. How do we calculate this? What APIs we're going to use? It's like, okay, let's just build the foundation and move up because we were making this complicated without writing one single line of code.
Correct. So can you state that one more time? Sorry, I think I missed a little bit of it. So we have our initial core app, and the first feature that we're going to build into that is going to be?
Basically, authentication, where what we're going to do is you log in with GitHub and or Twitter. We're going to link them to each other. And then when you make a commit, it's going to give you an option to send out a tweet, yes, I made this commit as an accomplishment, like an achievement. Kind of like part of what we discussed last week is we were basically making like an Xbox Live achievement system for coding and stuff like that, but we were going to start with the basics first.
So why don't we do this, because that way we can actually get some stuff going. So let me share my screen. Let's see. Well, hold on. Before I do that, what I'm thinking is that we got to start writing some of these tickets, especially because we haven't had the chance to do so. So maybe this session today we'll actually write these tickets live.
Let me share my screen, because what we were talking about, because I've been talking about Trello.
Sure.
Let's see if you see all this.
Oh, infinite, nice.
I know. Let's see. Will that pick that? Nope. Wow, I don't usually have these much problems.
It's all right.
Let's try this. Okay, so we're on the wrong thing, but I will move that here. And you should see that. I started a Trello board that basically started with the basic premise of, because I want to learn Trello, what we want to do, which was need to be able to sign in through GitHub or Twitter and link each other account. When they make a GitHub commit and they can have their app make a tweet of their accomplishment.
Okay. It's pretty cool. I like, well, I'm not very up to date with Trello. We had discussed using Trello, I think, before when we were going to originally do the Ruby Monday blog, the blog app. So the only discussion around that, from what I recall, and this was something that we had with Saran and everyone else that was kind of launching it out, was would it add another layer of non-coding learning to the project, or would it just contribute to making things easier? What does the group feel on that? And I'm willing to support either one. It's mainly making it a matter of discussion with the group rather than just taking a blanket choice on it. Moish, you have any thoughts on that? I see you got unmuted.
Yeah, I think it would help. The reason why I'm saying that is we had used this in the JS Tuesday project. We were facing some issues in prioritizing, or in segregating tasks which are like under discussion or which are like probably currently under progress. So I could even share my screen to show you how we went about using it in the JS Tuesday project, to just give a better idea about how things were placed and accordingly categorized. So would everybody like to see it?
Yeah, sure. While you pull that up, Jesus, can you give me a little bit more on the need some sort of written spec? Do you mean something like Trello, or do you mean just having it spec'd out in the app README itself?
I guess we can use Trello. It's pretty easy to use. What I want to see is the list of features that we need
Right.
and uh, high level description of the project.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm the one pending on the description of the project, mainly because I wasn't able to be here last week and I've been pretty caught up with everything else.
And
Then I wanted to just chat with everyone and see what that would look like.
one more thing I'd like to add, we don't have to use Trello per se. There's one called Waffle.io that was mentioned the last couple of weeks that integrates with GitHub issues. And it's like Trello, but it works with GitHub issues automatically.
Got it, got it. So I think my thoughts on these are, I agree with Jesus, we need the written spec. Trello is not a bad tool. It's actually a really good tool. And if we're going to use a tool, my only feeling is that I'd rather use something that I think, you're going to leave this project and you're going to probably end up using it in wherever you end up working. And for that matter, I think, well, GitHub is why we use GitHub. You're going to use GitHub pretty much in most places where you might end up working. And by that extension, if we're going to use something to kind of manage these tasks aside from just GitHub issues tickets, then I think Trello would be it, even if it doesn't integrate to GitHub directly. Just because I think that's where most workplaces are using, at least in startup thingy. Like, all of the startups that I'm around, they use Trello. Victor, +1?
+1 for sure. One less tool to learn.
Cool. So let's see. Monish, you got that ready, right? Go ahead and share it.
I'm actually sharing my screen. Could you guys please confirm if you're able to see it?
Yep.
Cool. So basically, the way we structured things were like around, I think mainly Dan was doing this, who was the host of the JS Tuesday project, and he still is the host. So we were categorizing things into discussion, where basically we talk about stuff that we could probably add in as a feature in the near future, or maybe in the long term, goals of the project. And next up could be the things that people could, assign to themselves as tasks. And I mean, once we have confirmed that we want these things to definitely be added into the application as probably version 1.0 or so. And from there on, we even had, so once somebody takes up a task, they could move the card from next up to, in progress. And accordingly, others would know that where is that task currently in the pipeline of getting things done. And from there on, so once somebody is done with the task, they would move it to the code review card, and maybe just mention somebody on GitHub saying that this is up for review, or just mention somebody on Slack. So that they could probably review it before the actual Hangout session. And yeah, once it's merged, you just move it to done. So that basically is the workflow that we followed in the JS Tuesday project. So one thing I would like to add is one thing I really missed from GitHub was the thing about tagging issues. Maybe of like your intermediate level or beginner level or something of that sort. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Monish. So that would, I like the setup right there. That would be my concern. If we'll still keep the same transparency that we did with GitHub, where anyone can come in, even if they're not part of the project yet, and they can kind of take a look at what we're working through, what the open issues are, if there's something that catches their interest. Is Trello something that we can open up and anyone can take a look at those, or do they already have to be part of invited to that board to be able to see it?
I think you can make it public.
Okay. Yeah, if there's a public option, I think that makes it more interesting, just because I don't want to, kind of steer people away just because of being so closed in what we're doing. And that is one thing that I really did like about GitHub, where anyone, even if they hadn't messaged me to jump on the project yet, they could go ahead and look at what we're going through. If they jump on the discussion, even if they hadn't been invited yet, they could follow along the tickets that we were working with.
I
Oh.
I wanted to comment on GitHub users
Sure.
for, well, they were lingering forever because we still have 9 open issues on the Ruby Monday blog, and some are very old. So it seems like it's hard to make progress.
Got it. So you think that using Trello and having it be more easy to track and manage would be work better for us to get some progress going on the project?
Yeah, I think it can help.
Okay. So just as a general consensus from the group here, is everyone okay with jumping on Trello to kind of project manage this? Plus one thumbs up, any of it works. Cool. And let's see. Hey, Christopher. Sorry, I didn't see you jump in there. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. So yeah, feel free to jump in with the opinions. Don't think that you have. This is a brand new project, so there's not much going yet. So very cool. So all right. So Monish and Farish, I'll probably count on your backup to kind of spec this out, set it up in Trello, because I'm really not that experienced with Trello. I'll be learning a lot for the rest of the gang.
Well, one question though, that Waffle IO is just like Trello, except it integrates with GitHub issues. Do you want to just try that?
How much is Waffle IO used outside of our project? I think if it's something that we probably run into using somewhere else, yes.
I never heard of this site.
Me either.
Neither had I.
Okay.
So and we can try to be good about maybe linking to GitHub tickets on Trello and things like that. You know, we'll spell out some common with that. Thanks, Farish.
But if we link to tickets, we'll have more to maintain because we have the GitHub issue, we have the Trello entry or ticket or card, whatever you want to call it. So we have 2 things, and we also have the PR.
Right.
The pull request.
So I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around that. So let's see here. Victor, or was it? I think posted a link on how Thoughtbot uses Trello for product development. I haven't read it yet. Obviously, he just posted it. But maybe we can take a look at that, see how they would manage that, try to see what we can learn and apply to this project right here. So, okay. So what you're saying, Jesus, is if we use Trello, we wouldn't need to write tickets on GitHub. All we would do is write them, put them on a Trello card.
But we can still use tickets for bug reports instead of features.
Got it. So features go on Trello, bug reports go on GitHub tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sounds good. Everyone else okay with that?
Why would we want 2 different buckets as opposed to 1 bucket?
That's my question. Because I kind of like the 1 bucket, the GitHub, and just you keeping it that way. But I think.
Well, I have an opinion on that.
Right.
So when someone else wants to use your open source project, the first thing you do if you have a problem is go to the GitHub repo and log in issues to see if anyone already reported the bug instead of going in Trello. Trying to search if there is a Trello, if there is, but I guess we can also document this in the README and say report bugs in this Trello, public Trello board. What do you think?
I really like bugs, at least. I mean, specifically bugs, issues. I think GitHub is the right place for them. It's what you would find. I mean, I can't think of open source projects where you would report a bug in their Trello board.
Yeah.
So I think if we can keep to the standard of what's kind of going out there and what we'll run into, that'll work in our advantage in the long run. And for features, I mean, features, I guess in developing out features, Victor, was it Victor that asked the question? I think it's probably a little bit easier to organize and think through the different features as we're trying to build, and that's why people are kind of going to Trello. We can try it out. I mean, we can see how it works for us. If it's not working, then we can always switch out of it. Cool. So before we continue, so we're all good with Trello for now. We'll set something up. I'll have Monish and Farish, if you guys are okay with helping out with that, that'd be great. Because that way we can set up the initial cards and see what works for us. Before we continue, Jesus, you wanted to share something.
Oh yes, I discovered something very interesting about Ruby today. As
Please share.
I have to show this. Okay, let me share my screen.
Let's see what you discovered this time, Jesus.
Can you see this, my screen?
Yep.
It's a terminal with Fry.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know you can define strings like this. This is the normal, hello world. You can also define a string like this with a Q, and this is the same. But I discovered it an much worse way to define a string.
I like that, a much worse way.
Yeah.
We're not trying to get better ways. We're trying to find worst ways. All right, go for it.
Okay, so here you go. Fix it up. Class.
Do you mean to be
Object.
fixed new?
Oh, right, yeah, right. Fix num. Object. String. Dot new. Hello world.
And you still have to use the quotes.
Yes. And here is the worst way to define a string.
It's not exactly Perl, but it's getting there.
Nice.
So, does anyone know why this works?
I'm not sure, but I feel like I have to go back and refactor all my code now. How does it
Okay,
work?
I will tell you at the end of the Hangout.
Yes, leave us in suspense.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. So, Farish, let's see. I'm picking on you because you hosted last week, so I get to pick on you.
It's okay.
So let's talk about some features, and we can maybe we can use Slack right now, so that we keep it in somewhere, and then we can reference it back when we're adding it to Trello cards.
Okay.
But so one of the things that we're gotta lay out is some steps, right? So first we need to actually commit some code to an app. So do we have that up already? An initial skeleton of our app? I don't think we do.
No, we don't.
So commit an initial Rails app. Are we okay with a similar setup as we had last time, where we were just having Rails 4.2, I believe, and Postgres and Ruby? I think we used 2.2 last time. Is everyone okay with that? I think there's also Ruby 2.3 now, but it's up to the group what we want to use.
I think Postgres sounds great.
Cool. So let's do Rails 4.2 Ruby, and then we can just put latest Ruby maybe. That would be 2.3, right?
Yep.
I don't think 2.3 is out yet.
Really?
I think it is.
I thought 2.3 was
Is
out.
it?
Well, I'll put latest and then just 2.3, and then Postgres, right? Now, are we continuing to use device for authentication, or are we gonna go in the realm of DIY, build our own?
Or you know what? There's another authentication gem, CanCan. Is that
Well,
what it's called?
CanCan isn't CanCan roles?
Maybe I'm thinking of another one.
Yeah,
I remember
CanCan is for roles and things
Right.
like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm remembering. CanCan is for roles, and I think it's actually CanCan now or something like that. But I believe as far as authentication, device provides a lot, as far as like
Well,
securing our app and all that?
actually, we're going to have to use OAuth if we're going to use GitHub or Twitter to log in.
Now,
We're going to have to deal with complicated authentication issues.
now I thought that we have separate things, correct? I mean, we're talking about one thing is logging into our own app, so our users, and then after that, we're going to have to set up, like you said, the OAuth to be able to log in our users to Twitter, to GitHub, whatever else we're doing.
Or do we want to use OAuth for everything? And
It's an option. Jesus, do you have thoughts?
Last Ruby version is 2.2.3, not
2.2.3.
2.3.
Okay, thank you.
And usually a new Ruby version I release around Christmas.
Oh, nice. Good to know. 2.2.3 then. There you go. All right. So as far as device and OAuth, well, let's do this. Spec out. And I'm typing all this in Slack, okay, just in case you want to follow what I'm typing. So we're going to spec out the authentication, and we're going to figure out device, including OAuth, or I'm just putting or just like that because we got to figure out what we're doing with that. So does anyone know if device handles OAuth already? I see a blog post here, Rails 4 OmniAuth using device for Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Maybe I'll copy that blog post too. Okay, so we'll have to figure out some kind of authentication. Then, hey Diana, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome. We're just talking about a couple specs for our upcoming app right now, so feel free to jump in at any time.
Okay.
So we've got, I'm just trying to get an idea of the initial framework we need to set up to actually get going with this. So first is actually commit a Rails app. 2, set up some kind of authentication device, OAuth. I put in a link, Farish put in a link as well. What else do we need as kind of like the bare skeleton so we actually can start coding? Any other thoughts on what else we would need?
well, I don't know if you want to start the models.
So start defining, well, I think device is going to provide us with a user model just to begin with.
Right, but we need to, I guess, start getting into probably a tweet model.
Micropost.
So let's talk about that also. So our app, we know that we're going to be pulling in info, right? So we commit to GitHub. That somehow translates over to our user account. And now we're posting out.
Right.
But we're also keeping a table, right, of the accomplishments.
Right.
Because you can log into, Ruby committed or committed and see your accomplishments, the aggregate. Right now I know we're only starting with GitHub, but eventually you'll be able to see the aggregate accomplishments.
Yep, exactly.
So we do need some kind of table to handle that, I guess. Now, how do we want to handle that?
Well, I've been using the term achievements. We can make an achievement table to store all that.
Very good. I like that. Achievements, accolades. I like accolades, actually. It's a little bit different than achievements, but I think it's in the same spirit. All right, so maybe an achievements or accolades table. So let's decide on that. What do we want to call these, achievements or accolades?
I like achievements because people know what that is.
Okay, good point.
Xbox, Play Blizzard, stuff like that.
Very good. Let's see. Let me go with right to left this time. Victor, any thoughts on achievements, accolades table?
None.
None. Cool. As long as it works.
Right. Either would work.
Scotty?
If I had to pick, I'd go with achievements.
All right. Hey, Rob, any thoughts on that? Any preferences? And you're muted, by the way, so I can't hear you.
I know. I'd say achievements. Achievement sounds good.
Oh man, the ball steering towards achievements. Monish,
It's positive.
there you
Um,
go.
I'm just thinking, what about accomplishments? I mean, like I've achieved one commit in GitHub, I've accomplished one commit in GitHub. What sounds better?
Achievements, accomplishments. Okay, so this is targeted towards newbies, right? Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to encourage newbies to commit whatever program they're doing, any little thing. We're trying to aggregate it into one place and kind of get you some encouragement. So achievements or accomplishments. Now we got another one in the mix. So feel free to.
We call also the badges like code school. Code school.
A badge, okay, like a code school badge.
I would say you would earn a badge after certain points.
I think so. I think that that's probably more along that lines. Like you have a couple achievements or a couple accomplishments.
Now, if you want something named different but the same concept, I was thinking call it awesomeness.
Awesomeness, nice. Diana, let me give you a little bit of. Have you been able to hear a little bit of the background on what we're trying to build?
Not so much, but I do hear about the accomplishments and achievements, and also the badges. So if you could just give me like maybe 30 seconds of what it is that you're trying to do.
Sure, I'll give you a 30-second pitch. So what we're doing is we're creating an app that's going to aggregate whatever achievements, accomplishments you have in the different tutorials out there. So you might be working a little bit on free code camp, and you get some results there, and then you might make a couple GitHub commits, and you get some results there. But it's all scattered, right? So what we want to do is we want to aggregate all that so anyone can at any time follow all the different things you're accomplishing in your coding journey, and that's what we're talking about here.
All right, that sounds really cool. And with that in mind, I think I would definitely go with a word that has absolutely nothing to do with what other schools are using. Like, I guess so you can have like a fresh word to use.
Right.
If that makes any sense. But I did like accolades. I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, all right. We got some support for accolades. All right. And Rob, you had an idea? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would put in a piece of the pie. So many accomplishments to reach a benchmark.
Correct. And that benchmark ties into the badges idea that Jesus threw out.
And for some of you who missed last week, we kind of discussed this last week also, but what happened was we were throwing so much stuff at it, it was like, okay, let's tone this down first.
Yeah, exactly.
Built, and then we're going to do all this other stuff with it. Because I basically was talking about recreating the whole Xbox Live system on my
Maybe that's why you had to tone it down first. All right, and Christopher, you're the one that came up with accolades. What do you think so far?
I think Farish makes a good point that achievements, more people know what that is.
Very good. So how about we do this, just so we can actually start speccing some things out. What we can do is we can create an achievements table, and it wouldn't be the cleanest thing, but if we need to rename later, we can always rename. An accolade. Oh, all right, Jesus. So what's an accolade? I like accolade. I'm a supporter of accolade. But there you go. And let me see. I don't even know if I spelled it right for you, Jesus. Sorry about that.
Jesus, what you spelled is the crazy religious people.
Okay.
Yeah, the acolytes.
That's a different app. That's the next project we got going, Jesus. So an accolade here. Here you go. See, Ruby Monday. We teach Ruby. We teach English. We teach Spanish. Whatever you need. All right. So Rob is going with accolade. There you go. Okay, so is the group okay with just going with an achievements table, even if that doesn't end up being the final word that we use, in actual copy?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So 3.
I don't think anybody has a trademark on achievements, so we'll be okay.
There you go. Okay, so with that being said, here's some of the things that we can start writing cards, I guess, if we're not using tickets around. So we can start writing some cards, first of all, for building out the initial app, just the bare bones Rails app. We also need to pick our testing framework since we decided we're going to be testing everything, right? And are we going to stick with RSpec or are we switching to mini-test? What does the group think?
RSpec.
RSpec. All right, Victor?
RSpec.
I'll cast 4 votes for it too. RSpec.
Nice. Okay, and Farish, I'm assuming you're going to pick RSpec. You've got all those videos on RSpec, so.
I'm up for RSpec, but if we have to learn mini test, it's time.
Well, that's fine. Let's get RSpec in there. So set up RSpec.
I'm going to vote for mini test just because no one else did.
There you go. I'll second that vote. But I've got really no preference on it. I actually had no less mini test than RSpec. So.
Me neither.
Set up RSpec. Okay, so we got our testing framework, our testing tools. We need some kind of front end. Are we sticking to Bootstrap, or are we going to go with Foundation or something like that?
I would suggest Bootstrap because we all know it. Unless you want to integrate React.js and Polymer.
Then we bring on the additional nights. That's the next project, and we're going to build out the API on Ruby Monday, and then we'll let JavaScript whatever day set up the rest of it. But okay, so on the front end, since our main focus really is Ruby, we want just something simple enough. Are we okay with continuing with Bootstrap?
The one thing I do want to mention, I don't know if it was somebody in this chat, somebody mentioned Bootstrap without some of the extra fluff, but I can't think of what it was called or.
Can you expand a little bit on that?
Bootstrap 4, it's not out yet. It's still in alpha.
But there was something else that was just like Bootstrap, but it didn't have, and it was probably a Saran thing, and I can't think of what it's called.
I think that's when you, her, and I were on a pair coding session, and we were talking about it, but that's Bootstrap 4. That's coming out in Bootstrap 4. It's going to have a wireframe-only mode.
Okay.
So it's not something out yet?
No, I use Bootstrap all day long. It's not out yet.
Okay.
I can't wait for it, but it's not out yet.
Okay. So set up Bootstrap 3. Are you okay with that? I'm like, who else jumped on the call? And then I realized it was Rob's avatar picture. It's a very cool picture, by the way, Rob. All right. So let's see. We've got the achievement table, RSpec, Bootstrap 3. Any kind of initial setup type of things that I'm missing?
Did we want to do anything for feature specs like Capybara or anything like that?
Yeah. So what's our usual tools for that? Capybara, Factory Girl?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think last time we used the Faker Game 2, or was it Populate?
Capybara and Factory Girl. And since we're going to actually be using a lot of APIs, I know Saran uses this on one of the coding sessions that I was on with her. It's to help you test API calls and API things. I think it's VCR.
Yes, that's what she uses.
Anyone else use VCR? Faker and Populator, but I don't think we both. Okay, so pick one. Jesus, which one would you go with?
Faker.
Very cool.
But I was reading that Faker has a lot of problems with Factory Girl. That it can cause issues.
Really?
I was just wondering because I started building this invoice software out, and I was thinking about using Faker. But you know what? In Factory Girl, you can do your own loop sequencing. So if you create multiple factories, it'll automatically like John Smith 1, John Smith 2, John Smith 3, so it's unique.
Okay. All right. So why don't you let's see. Let's mention Faker, but then let's I'll put a note too. Let's verify that it doesn't conflict. What did you say? What's far as Factory Girl?
Factory Ground Faker might have issues. I was reading up about it, but what I did was in here, I can open it up. I still have it open right now. Let me share my screen real quick.
Sure, go for it.
Close the windows. Okay, I got too many windows open. This is too. Let me close out some of these real quick. So what I did was, example, if you have this sequence here, because I have a field called company, you can create a, what's the word I'm looking for? Blanking out here. Basically like a hash, where every time you call this, it'll automatically increment this number.
Right.
So last time we had filled up with like, I think 50 unique blog posts. Well, in testing, you could, in the beginning, if you want to do 2 or 3 factories, you can do this and make everything unique for testing purposes. So I wanted a different name and different company name, and I want to make sure that worked. And I just, in my spec file, initialized 3 factories, and then test it for each factory and see if I click on it, does it open up the show page? Stuff like that. And give me the.
Okay. So let's find out if it's going to be an issue. I think we can keep it in there right now, just to kind of get things moving with it. And then if we need to switch it out, again, that's a good thing. We can put a bug ticket around it and switch it out.
Right.
Okay. So anything else that we can think of? I've been outlining these on Slack just in case anyone wants to add to anything that we're missing right now. So far what I've put in there is commit an initial Rails app, Rails 4.2, Ruby 2.2.3, Postgres, device, and then we've got some blog posts to do device and OmniAuth, and then build out the achievements table, which is probably going to be our main table aside from the user table. Set up RSpec, Bootstrap 3, Capybara, Factory Girl, VCRs for testing our APIs, Faker. One more that I can think of right now is we're going to be needing to make a lot of API calls to GitHub and Twilio, so we need something to manage those API calls. I'm mainly use in Ruby. I like HTTP party. I'm open to using something else if someone else has something they like.
I used HTTP party for Diablo 3 API calls. It works really well. They made some slight changes from when I started to when I last got back to the project, but it's really easy to use. The only catch was there were certain things that you couldn't integrate as a variable in the URL, because I was trying to build a case statement based on region, US, Europe, or Chinese, to call a different API call based on location.
Mm-hmm.
HTTP party was not designed to handle that, so I had to take a different approach.
So can you give me an example, maybe a little bit of a code example, what you were trying to do?
Here, let me go back to Vim, and I'll get into this other app.
Anything else you like using, Jesus?
I like REST client.
REST client?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't picked with REST client. I was getting into an issue where I was trying to authenticate with cookies in HTTP party, and I was having trouble doing it. And I think REST client was something that was suggested. Eventually I figured it out, so I never did it. But. I've heard good things of REST client also.
Weird. I don't see Vim as an option on my screen share now. Oh, it like keeps disappearing. Weird. Here, let me move this to another monitor and maybe I'll show up.
Sure. Has anyone else used either REST client, HTTP party, or something else?
It's just client. It has been handy, yeah.
Okay, so I have the screen open. Let me go ahead and get into. No. Let's see. Lazy here. So basically, what happened was, originally I was doing a case statement here, where if I didn't want to have to take this route, what I wanted to do was call the URL through here, through a case statement, and automatically change the base URI. Where is that? But what I had to do was I couldn't use the base URI. I had to actually create a local variable.
Yeah.
Location, and the base URI is inflexible. You can't use it as part of a variable because when you work with HTTP party, you usually set the base URI, but it wouldn't let me create this kind of scenario where it would change based on location.
Got it. I see what you're saying.
And then
yeah, I'm not sure if how REST client would handle that, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah. And then right here, I was just making sure it would do what it did. Besides that, but the API call worked every time depending on location.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know if REST client does the same thing. It might. HTTP party, you just pretty much assign the response to a variable, and then you can do something like parse response, and it's very easy to access all the information called back.
They basically changed this. It used to be HTTP GET, I think, something else, but now it's you can use a straight GET call, and then this will pull the whole JSON data. So if I go into, let me split the screen real quick.
Oh, cool. When does this get updated? Because I still use the HTTP party.get.
When I was using it, it was 1.4, and I think it's on 1.45 now.
I gotta check which version I'm using.
And you know what? Your commands might work for what I was doing. It wasn't working. Let me have to do Rails console. So I think it was Diablo. Other thing is how they show your list battle tag and how they actually process it is two different things. And then I think oh, screwed up. Oh, this was working, but I haven't documented this, so it should. Diablo 3 profile.
Are you running your console?
Yeah, I'm running a Rails console, and what would happen is, oh no, you know what? You're right. I'm not. I thought oh, is it Bundle Console? Bundle Console. That's what it was.
Oh. Monish just cloned himself. We've got two Monishes on the call now.
US, I believe. Oh, yeah, 3. That's good. It put the information, but I think it might be waiting for the response. Response timed out.
Yeah.
Bad gateway timed out.
So let me see if I can find an example here. Let me do something.
There we go. All the data just went through. So it pulls the whole API call, all the characters played, different levels that are parsed through there.
Yep. So then you can assign the parse response to a variable and then start calling it just like you would call your regular JSON data.
Exactly.
You want to do a sample on that on the console where you have it?
Okay, so what I would do is probably call. I got to remember what the API, how it breaks down. So it would be response equal. Let me space this out. And let me just make sure response is actually filled. Yep. So it might be. There's so much information. So if I do. Did I do heroes on this one? So,
And I'm not sure how much everyone's worked with HT Party or any APIs before, and that's just mainly why I'm asking Fires to show that. In case you haven't, you can take a look at how this would work.
Okay, so that's my response variable. Now I got to pull the data out of here. I got to remember what's the main.
So try response dot. Well, try assigning it to a different variable. So maybe try something like data equals response dot parse response. I think it is.
Data.
Parse underscore response, something like that.
Data. Hold on. It's yeah. There we go. Data equals. Is it parse response or response parse?
Response dot parse response. Parse underscore response.
Parse dot response dot parse.
Response dot parsed underscore response. PARSED underscore response. I think that's what it is.
Like that at the bottom?
Add a D to parse.
Oh. There we go.
There you go. So now if you just call your data attribute, it's pretty much just a JSON object. So you could do something like data dot. Is that calling different ones?
Yeah, there's a lot.
So maybe data dot first.
Let's see. Let's try.
You might have an array of data. So if you try data dot first and see if that gives you something back.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm trying to find. Usually, what happens is there's another hash that lists all the heroes and characters for that.
So you can try something like data dot first, and then you have kills right there. You can see what that does for you, and then.
So data. Maybe this would work then, based on what you're saying. Oops. Data dot first dot kills. You said.
I gotta see exactly what you have. You have an array on there. Is this just a one object? So is the call that you made, is it just returning one thing, or is it returning multiple things?
It's a big hash with multiple stuff within the or object within the objects. Objects within objects.
Okay. So yeah, you just call it as a hash. So I told you data dot first just because I didn't know if you had an array of objects. But in this case, you would probably just go something like data, and then the brackets, quotes, and then try heroes.
So data, oops.
Data brackets.
It does that weird thing. Data brackets, heroes.
Heroes. No, quotes heroes.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
So now you have your heroes array. And then Jesus said get awesome print for this kind of stuff. Try response.keys. That'll also give you some info on what your keys are.
Is that a gem?
Response.keys. Look at Jesus's comment on the Google Hangout chat.
I did it, inverted it. Response.keys.
So there's your different keys. So that's the different ones you can call.
Is awesome print a gem?
It is.
Yes.
How do I shorten my RSpec stack? Because I still haven't heard that one yet. I've been asking you. and others. My RSpec stack is too big to read through on Vim.
I'm not sure, so sorry about that.
No worries. No, I'm asking Jesus. He's a resident expert.
What are you asking?
How do I make my RSpec stack shorter when there's a red? When there's an error?
Yes, there is a configuration option for filtering the stack.
Oh, okay.
I will find it for you.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a .rspec file that one might have to edit.
So
let me go ahead. What was that for, Monish? Sorry about that.
There's a .rspec file where you can edit your RSpec configuration.
Oh, okay, cool. So
right, I just didn't know what to do to shorten the stack.
now let me just pause for a little second. Who has not worked with APIs before or with an API gem? Feel free to just speak up or put it on the chat, and that way we know just to kind of what type of stuff to go over. It's no harm. That's how we all learn. So, Scotty, you haven't worked with them? So, I'm sorry, I forgot my own question, which is horrible. So, these are if you have not worked with APIs, correct?
I've made simple APIs with Rails, but I haven't worked with external APIs before.
Got it. So you gotta make some API calls. So there's different gems out there for this, and that's kind of what we were discussing a little bit earlier. Jesus has worked mainly with REST client, but I'm sure he's worked with HTTP party as well. You kind of just get preferences for one or the other. Farish right now was demonstrating HTTP party and kind of the syntax for that, and pretty much it's just a wrapper for the Ruby's own I guess, client for that, which a lot of people don't like. So there's some neat wrappers around that. HTTP party is one of them, REST client is another one of them. That makes it easier to work with external APIs. And it's just a matter of getting a little bit of the syntax down. Some of them have nice features that help you use the data. So, for example, the one that Farish was working with, it already provides you with a way of parsing the data, so you would get some more than likely JSON data back from the API. Once you get that, you'd have to parse through it. Some of these gems already do that for you with the right calls, and that's a nice feature to have. So let's see here. Let me try something on mine. Looking good. Okay, so I'll do a little demo to kind of back up what Farish was doing. Let me share my screen real quick. And feel free to ask questions along the way. Let's see. I think that's my my terminal, right? Can you guys see that? Yep. So this is a simple GET call with HTTP party. So here's the response. The response doesn't have to be response, it's just a variable. So I can easily just change that to R. It's just whatever variable you want to assign to it. Here's the syntax for it. And then you open params. And then what follows is, in quotes, your URL. So here's my URL. And this is just for the Everyone API. Everyone API is just the API that's out there that provides information based on the phone number that you give it. So it's kind of like a white pages lookup, but for that. So this is something that I'm sending a GET request. The way it's authenticating, it's through an account SID. So some of the sections, for example, right here under phone, I'm putting my phone number. That's my actual phone number. SID, I've got that stored in an environment variable. The authentication token, also an environment variable. And you just kind of make this call out. And there it goes. It went off, and then it got me back. So what some of the things that you can do with this is, if I do my variable and do parse response, then I have that just as a simple JSON. And I forgot to turn off my Bluetooth. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. My Bluetooth is going crazy now. So sorry about, here you go. So there's that. So then we can do something like what Farish was using that, or we could also do I think it was keys, and that gives you the different fields that you can call. And if this was a post request instead of a get request, then after this quotes right here, you would just do something like body, open up a hash, and then give it whatever you need to do that. So maybe this, for a post request, maybe you need like maybe you pass in the phone number as a post instead of that, so you just do something like that. And then a lot of times I found that with this, then I got to do a 2JSON call on this. So that's a little bit of HTTP party. Any questions on that or any comments? Cool. So we'll move on from that. So let's see here. I'm trying to think. Anything else that we haven't spec'd out yet, at least for this initial one?
I just kind of figured out how Trello basically works, so I could just talk about it a bit.
Great, go ahead.
Yeah, so right now Farish has created a public board. He could add a member to it and make that person an admin. And once probably we have a couple of admins, they can easily add members to the Trello board. So even though it's a public board, it looks like you have to invite members to the board so they could edit or change a card.
Okay, so it could be a public board, but you still need to invite people so that they can make any changes.
Yeah.
But public boards will allow you to be able to at least see the content there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Farish can add maybe a couple of more admins, and they could help him out in inviting other members as and when they want to join.
Very good. All right. So that'll help, because I think that that's one thing that'll add to this, the project management side of this, is just keeping Trello up to date. Let's see here. So for those of you who had not worked with external APIs before, were you able to at least grasp a little bit of how that's going to work out?
If you don't, I know we kind of showed what it did. We didn't really go over what was going on per se.
And that's why I was asking, because then what we can do is, once we write this ticket out, it'd be great if someone would be willing to pair on that and kind of go into that and let someone newer take on these tickets and still be the backup for it. That would be great. I think it'd be a perfect learning experience for that.
It makes sense to me. I saw that. So you just you do a post, you get a response back. You take that response, you capture it into something. Hopefully, you got something that can convert that into JSON or something that you can then pick out what you're looking for and put into variables and classes and whatnot.
Exactly. So what you're doing is you're sending some kind of request. Hopefully you're getting some kind of data back. So if it's a GET request, you're absolutely right. You're getting some kind of data back that now you can use. And now once you have it back in JSON, now you can manipulate it to however you need to do so. If it's a POST request, you're probably not getting data back, but you are getting some kind of confirmation, like a status code. So actually, one thing that you didn't show, Farish, I don't think you did, you can check if your post was successful, if your request was successful. HTTP party has a very nice, clean method. Let me show it again really quick. So here's my former request, and then all I could need to do is query it pretty much. Whatever variable dot success with a question mark, and there you go. It was a successful call, and that's based on the response header from the server you pinged on that. So that's pretty much what it is. So we'll write some tickets around that. Okay. And let's see, Diana, you're thinking of doing a GitHub API track? Yeah, that'll be great. And honestly, if you take on one of these tickets or you pair on them, you'll get a lot out of it. It's not as complicated as it seems. It's really just making requests. Once you have that data back, then now it's just figuring out how to manipulate it. That'll be great. Okay. Very cool. All right. So as far as these things go, I think we have a pretty good idea of what the initial things we need. So just to review, we're going to set up a commit initial Rails app. We're going to spec out the authentication, device with OAuth, set up RSpec, set up Bootstrap 3, Capybara, Factory Girl, VCR for testing APIs, Faker, and HTTP party for calling out to external APIs. So are we okay with starting to assign some of these while we're on this call right now? I think it's probably a good idea to kind of get things going. So anyone want to volunteer to kind of commit the initial app? And that would involve just committing a Rails app with Postgres setup, with a Postgres config.
I see one of the new people.
I think so too. So let's see. If you're a little bit newer, you've never participated in the project, anyone willing to volunteer?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right. Cool. So how is this gonna work, Farish? Are you gonna have a Trello card for that, and then you're gonna have Christopher take that card, or how are we doing? And Jesus says, why don't we do it live? You're up for it, Chris?
Let's do it.
Cool. So go for it. Let's see if we can do this. You want to share your screen?
Sure.
She wants to leave your feet. I'm pushing her off.
I like Jesus always has these like, let's do this now ideas. Let's build a Sinatra voting app now.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm clicking the screen share button, but I'm not sure if you guys can see it.
Not yet. Usually when you do the screen share, it'll give you a pop-up so you can choose what screen to share.
Not getting that pop-up.
Are you on Ubuntu or just a straight Linux by any chance? I know.
Yeah, I'm on Ubuntu.
Yeah, I think Clayton was the one that was having issues screen sharing on Ubuntu.
He had an issue, and one night we kind of sat, and I think the window doesn't show up in the foreground, and he figured it out. But I don't remember what the solution was. No Hamill.
No Hamill. Sorry. Veto. No time for Hamill. Do you usually code in Hamill? Hold on. First of all, Jesus, can you go over what Hamill is, just in case?
Yeah, Camel is a template engine, just like ERB.
And why do you like Hamill?
Because it's more, I don't know the word, more short code, more succinct.
Yes.
It's not as verbose as ERB.
Yeah. You don't need to do man, I don't even know what these are called. Like the rockets and left and right, and then the percent in the middle and all that.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff.
Yeah, but it also gets kind of tricky after. Without all of it. All right, but sorry, you got downvoted on Hamill. You usually get upvoted on all your ideas except this one.
What do you guys think? It's kind of difficult to do it live if I'm having this issue.
That's fine. Don't worry about that. Anyone else want to try to do it live? Want to set up our initial template for this? Well, let's see. Jesus, do you want to do it live?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go for it. That way we can see your process, and you're not going to throw in Hamill, right? You're going to stick to ERB.
No. Okay.
Go for it. Thanks, Christopher. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
I'll have to see if I can find a workaround or something to get my screen to share
Yeah,
on the YouTube.
ping Clayton. I'll ping him also on a Ruby Monday. I'm sure he'll be willing to help because he went through the same problem.
Okay, great.
So go for it, Jesus.
Okay, so here is a trick for you. You can do a Rails RC file and set some defaults in here.
Okay, cool. So all right, so Rails RC file you can keep that where anywhere
No, in your home folder.
in your home folder.
Yeah. So you see the squiggly line there?
Oh, okay. Yes.
That means your home folder.
Yeah, I missed that.
Okay, so I have skip unit test because this means skip mini test.
Yes.
Or else it will create a lot of template and default fields for mini test. And the second line says to set the database as Postgres.
Very nice. So okay,
So
cool. So then what do you do?
I will move to my projects folder. Okay, here we are. And now we say Rails new. And what's the name? Committed. I think we agreed on. Is it committed? Hello.
I believe so. That looks right. Sorry, I didn't realize. I forgot I muted myself.
Okay, so is it committed the name?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do committed. Rails new.
So then now, since you did that in your Rails, what was that called? Rails RC?
Yes, I will type it down in the chat. Rails RC.
Rails RC. Okay, cool. And why do you do a skip bundle, Victor?
Until you add the rest of the gems that you want to use on your projects, and then you run the bundle install.
So you just hold off on that until you have everything ready.
Right, because he's running it now, and it runs on the Rails new. It just saves this waiting step.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Got it.
I will add that. Okay. Done. So now we have the project. I have to seed into it. Committed. I will do the create. No, I need to add the remote for the hit remote.
Yes. So you need to.
What's the repo? Anyone can link the repo?
Yeah. Let me get it right now.
Thing is.
Be committed.
I think I found it. Yeah.
And then let me make sure. I don't know if the contributors carried over or not. I might have to add you again. Okay, you're a contributor now.
Okay. So this is the clone.
Yep.
But I'm thinking since there is already a file, if I pull this, it will match this readme, right?
I think it will pull that in.
I usually don't create any files when I start a repo. I just have an empty repo and add the remote. But I will do the same process and let's see what happens.
Sure.
So you can list your remotes with -v. So I will init, which creates the Git repository, and then add the remote, add origin. Origin is just a name. You can give it any name you want. Okay. Now I will pull and see what happens. Origin.
Master?
Because I'm not sure what happened. It says continue object from master. I am on master. And you ask it to pull from the remote origin, but in a specific a branch. Okay. Good
Okay, the
for
origin master.
origin master. Okay, it looks like there is your initial commit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this are the initial files.
Was that what was that, GIS?
Oh, it's an alias I have for hit status.
Oh, okay. Okay. And
You
does everyone know
solve.
how to make an alias for your like common things that you're running all the time? Or anyone have questions on that? I use an alias for Docker Compose run because I'm always typing in Docker Compose run. So I use an alias for that.
It's super useful to have alias.
Yep.
I have, you can see mine here. I have for hit status, hit log, hit checkout, hit commit.
Very nice. Would you mind showing how you create an alias, Jesus?
Yeah, well, this might change a bit depending on the shell you have. I have fish, so you have to go onto your configuration file for your shell. For example, for bash, it's bash rc. For csh,
CSH?
yeah, csh is chhrc. You notice a pattern there with the RC?
With RC, yeah.
Yeah, it's very common in Linux and the Unix world to name configuration files with
Yes.
RC.
So Diana, to kind of do it on a step-by-step, so the first thing would be to figure out what the command is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you see one of those that he's showing on his screen right there, can you just do one of those commands right on the terminal instead of doing it on a bash? Maybe a temporary one that you can think of?
Yeah,
Jesus?
sure.
So if you wanted to do just a temporary one that you wanted to create for your Git, let's say for Git branch, you would just type in alias, the name of your alias, what you want to call it, equals, then your quotes, and then what the actual command is. So if you did that, now you can use the GIB alias. Now, next time he opens this terminal, if he closes and opens it, that alias is going to be gone. So that's why he's adding it to his configuration file, so that every time he opens this shell, it automatically loads in the aliases that he wants. Does that make sense, Diana?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
No problem. So I use something like that. I use Docker to host my work on my projects. So there's some really long commands that I don't care to type for all the time. So that's why aliases come in really handy.
Yeah.
Very cool. Continue, Jesus. Sorry about that.
Okay. So now I will run hitat, and we can see all the new files.
Yep.
and now I will make a commit. So you said initial commit, I will say setup Rails. Okay,
Yep.
so it's committed, and now I have to. Do you want me to?
Victor, you want someone to create a merge conflict with you right away.
Do you want me to commit directly to master or create a pull request?
On this one, I think is the initial commit. Well, one question before you do that, because I think I talked to someone about this and I forgot if it might have been Victor. The database YAML file, is that something that we just push like that, or is that something that we git ignore and we just push up a sample?
We push up a sample of database and secrets, and we got to add the other gems that are missing.
Right, and the other gems I'm not too worried about because I'll leave that for someone else to work on them as a separate ticket. But I do want to kind of get this started.
Definitely do database and secrets.
Did you catch that, Jesus?
Sorry, was something about the
Yeah, let's config.database.yaml and also secrets.yaml.
Yes. What do you want me to do with those?
Victor, you want to go ahead and figure that out?
Sure, you should clone them and add the extension .sample, and then
let's do something fancy. Yay!
What was that?
Nice.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, almost.
Almost.
I forgot the dot. I forgot the dot.
Okay, so cp config and then the.
Config. Okay, I do the same with the secret.
Yes.
cp config secrets. Dot sample.
I did not know that. That's why it's cool to see someone work on this.
There we go. What do you want me to do next?
In your git ignore file, make sure you're not adding the non-sample files to the repo.
Okay. Oops.
Wrong one.
And site copy. Paste. Okay, secrets. Like this?
I believe it needs /config / right?
Oh yeah. Alright. Config.
Sorry about that. And then, did you remove from your commit the secrets file? Oh yeah, you did.
Let's see. I don't think they are removed.
Because you committed before you ignored it, so it'll still push it up if you don't do that, right?
I think there is a hit remove something.
Yeah, you did a git remove for the database, but you didn't do it for the secrets. Yeah.
Oops. Nope. It's not it. Hit RAM. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's working now. Let's see.
All right.
Ignore the no add sample config for secrets and database. Okay. Anything else you want me to do?
You're going to have to add notes in the README file to tell everybody to clone those without the sample extension so that they have working copies of those files.
Okay.
And that should do it.
Database. Database.
And that'll make sure our secret files are never exposed.
And so
Any questions on that?
Can you do an LS real quick?
yeah, sure.
Or go into the config directory and then do an LS. Because when you did the git remove, didn't that also end up deleting them from your actual environment too?
Looks like yes.
Yeah. So at this point, you have to do basically what you were just expressing in the in that that comment you were just writing as well.
Okay. Okay, I think we are ready to push.
Ready? Push. And it's the initial one, so go ahead and push directly to master. That's fine.
Permission Daniel, it says.
Really? That don't look right. Let's see, settings, collaborators. Oh, what did I give you access to? Now I'm worried. Now I'm worried. Let's see here. Create new teams. You're gonna have to let me know what I gave you access to. All right.
I have an idea.
Hold on. What did I do here? Okay, committed team. Repositories. Oh, here we go. There you go. Okay, try it again. Sorry about that.
It worked.
Boom. Done. That was weird. Okay, so now we go on Ruby committed. Now we see something else. Very nice. You know what I always have, while we're talking about initial app setup, I don't know if you run into this or not. I don't set up apps that often. Usually that's not the case. You set one up and then you're working on it for a while. But the initial Postgres config, I haven't found like a really solid guide on Postgres that I don't have to like start Stack Overflowing or Googling afterwards. It seems like every single tutorial I found out, including the Go Rails one, has like a missing piece, like, oops, we forgot that part. And then Postgres is a pain to get running.
Are you talking about Postgres on a Linux server?
Yes.
You know what, with the Go Rails one, because I just did it on my own VPS, I had to use part of the tutorial from DigitalOcean.
Correct.
His YouTube video actually does it correctly, but he explains it poorly in the deployment guide itself.
So what I end up having issues with the tutorials that I've seen, is the Go Rails one, it's the part of where creating the initial user and then telling you which admin and login you should use in your database like YAML file, and I always find something not working where I cannot, the initial user doesn't have the right access or the right roles, I think is what Postgres says.
The DigitalOcean guide, which some people I think linked in the comments. I could be wrong, or if I just Googled it because somebody mentioned it in the comments, tells you how to set up advanced roles and remove and create users.
Cool. So if you can link it again, that'd be great.
Find it.
And maybe if we can do like a Trello. What do you call these things? So you have Trello board. Then what do you have?
Cards.
Cards. And underneath each card, you have like different sections for it, or
Like lists and other items, and you can make multiple cards.
well,
Each board has a list. That's the column. On each list has a card.
okay, great. So maybe we can have a list for like resources for setting things up and just kind of general resources for the project.
And if you want, because I'm not using that server yet, I think I can give somebody admin access. It's a company called Cloud Costs. I actually signed up 2 years ago when they opened, and they did a promotion. Get half a gig of RAM and 20 gigabytes of space lifetime for $17.
Nice.
And I got it for future testing, and it's there. And if you blow it up, I just reinstalled the operating system, which takes a click of a button. So if people want access to that, we'll try to figure out something.
That'd be great. Thanks, man.
No problem.
Okay, so we've got that going. Let's see what else. I see. Hold on. Is that? Hey, Tim.
Hey.
I didn't notice when you jumped in.
Yeah, like 20, 15 minutes ago or so.
Cool, man. Welcome. Didn't you set up our Vagrant last time?
Yeah, yep, I did at one point, yes.
You want to take another stab at this again? For this one? I actually liked your Vagrant config last time. I ended up using it.
Awesome, cool. Maybe. I have no idea what we're even doing. So,
well, we're starting a new project, so that's a good thing that it's from scratch. It's pretty much the same setup as last time, Rails 4.2, Rails Ruby 2.1.3, I think.
Okay.
Postgres. So you can probably just use the same configs from last time.
Yeah, you could. I think that one was using Ruby 2.2.2. Upgrading to a different Ruby version would be pretty easy to do with that, or a different image could be created, or some different provisioner stuff. Sure, I can help out with that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool, because I remember I was in a bind trying to figure. I got frustrated. That's why I brought the Postgres thing up, because I missed a step along
right? Yeah.
the setup, and I just got super annoyed. I was trying to debug it, then I remembered you actually committed a Vagrant like setup file. I forgot what the Vagrant calls or config files. A Vagrant file. There you go.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm like, you know what? Let me just use that. And it was beautiful. It just Vagrant up, and now I was coding. So much better.
Yeah, I guess like the main project that I've been working on for the last month, I kind of stopped using the Vagrant stuff because my solution's running fine on the Windows version of Ruby and Rails and stuff. So it's been porting nicely between my OS X, my Windows, and my Linux machines. So I guess I haven't really been running the Vagrant stuff as much.
Yeah, I don't run it too much anymore either. Mainly for like these type of projects, that's when I do Vagrant. For work, I'm on Docker. So that's mainly what I'm using now.
Right.
But I still like Vagrant. I still like Vagrant a lot.
Yeah, it's super useful. But yeah, sure, I can set up a Vagrant file for this.
It'd be really cool. And then if I get stuck with any Linux issues, now I see Jesus got all the nice shortcuts there with his fancy ways of copying and renaming files. Thanks. But you know what? It's funny because that's what I really enjoy about seeing other people code. There's things that you don't think of that you know that others don't.
Yeah.
So I remember the first time I was sitting with someone. I had just started learning code, and they were on their terminal, and all of a sudden I saw that the command auto-completed. I'm like, whoa, what just happened? Like, I think it was a file name auto-completed. I'm like, what just happened? They're like, what? They didn't even catch that they did something that I didn't know about. And, my big reveal was tab. I did not know about tabbing to complete a file name. But, little things like they make the world of a difference. I had no idea. And then now I like tabbing, right? Who doesn't tab?
Now I like tab. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the cool thing about coding with other people. Yeah, so that'd be cool, man. Set up a Vagrant for us. That'd be a good commit for this.
Sure thing.
All right. So I think we talked a lot about the project. Does anyone have any questions about what we're doing right now and what the next steps are? I don't want anyone to kind of end the call confused. I think we spent 2 weeks just trying to get it off the ground, so I'd really like to see this start moving in that direction now by next week. Actually get some code up and running.
After we pull the remote repo onto our local machine, are we taking those database.yaml.sample files and then customizing them for our local development server?
Exactly. So what you would do is you would take that sample file, copy it without the extension. So yours would just look again like the original database.yaml without the sample.
Okay, and then I can put all my local configuration settings in that for my Postgres server.
Exactly.
And then when I make a pull request, do I just leave that? Do I leave my version out of that commit?
So what Jesus did is let me see if I can put it up here. So here, share this. Share this screen right here. So this is the repo, right? So if you go on this and you look on the git ignore, there's a little bit of a couple lists. So right here we have config database.yaml and config secrets.yaml. So automatically you don't have to worry about removing them. This git ignore is already telling Git, hey, these two files, don't touch them. Do not post them up.
Oh, okay. So you can put whatever you want in that file, and when you make a pull request or when you commit, it's not going to be in there anyway.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And the secrets file, this is usually like when we have like maybe API keys, especially because we are going to be working with APIs on this. So we don't want to be sharing, especially on a public repo like this one, your private API keys, things like that. So that's why we put the secrets file as a git ignore, because you can have it in your local dev, and then this would be ignored. On our production server, we would have the equivalent secret with the production keys for that.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Just as a quick note to that, because this will be a really big gotcha if you're not familiar with that, because I just went through it last month, I guess.
Sure.
You can end up with some kind of cryptic errors if you don't copy those files and like copy the sample file to, like, for instance, if you did not take database.yaml.sample and secrets.yaml.sample and create their like actual YAML file versions, Rails will end up like throwing some funny errors that don't exactly point to the place where you'd expect it to. So if you pull the repository down and you try running the project and you're getting this weird cryptic error somewhere along the point of app initialization, I don't remember exactly where, but somewhere in initialization, just remember, like, hey, that one guy said to make sure that those things are there. Oh, that's probably what happened.
There you go. That's a good way of doing it.
It's gotten me like 5 times in this last month on this app I'm working on as I've switched between different systems. So.
All right. So it's experience talking.
Fresh experience. Yep.
Yeah, that's always the most passionate one. Very cool. Let's see. Rob, any questions or comments? And I take all silence as, oh my God, this project is awesome. So
it's, oh my God, I have to reach for my mic. Oh my God, I have to unmute. No, I'm looking forward to it. I went over to GitHub. I'm just trying to clone it onto my Cloud9 right now.
Very cool. And then since it is a new project, if everyone would, the ones that I know, I'll try to remember your GitHub. I'm trying to see if I could just transfer the collaborators from the last project to this one. I think I spotted a way to do it, but just in case I'm not able to do that and you can't collaborate, ping me again with your GitHub username, and I'll add you to the project. So that way you can start working on this and committing to it. Okay. And then as just like a housekeeping thing, when you're working on a new feature, you can make a branch and then name the branch your initials, dash, and then the name of the feature you're working on. That would be really helpful in keeping things in order. Cool. Scotty, any questions?
Could you go over real fast? I wasn't here when y'all started the last project about, I guess, the workflow. Are we forking and then creating pull requests from our fork, or are we you're committing branches directly to the actual repo?
So the way we did it on the last project, we were just committing branches directly to the repo. It seemed to work well. Some people were more comfortable forking, and that's fine as well. But I think if you just want to do a branch on the repo, there's no issue to that. Just once you commit it, once your pull request gets pulled in, then just make sure you're deleting your branch.
Okay, sounds good.
To keep everything clean. Does everyone understand what that is? The difference between the making a branch and forking the repo? Anyone want to give like the quick? Oh, there you go. So let's see. Well, Scotty, you kind of understand the difference. That's why you asked it. You want to try explaining it?
I'm not really that clear on the differences. I've just done both. So
Oh, sure.
I don't really know the pros and cons of each one.
No problem. Anyone else want to take a try at it?
I'll take a stab at it. So, essentially, when you're working with, well, Diana, let me first ask you this: you have any experience with Git at all, or are you familiar with how that stuff works?
Yeah, I have some experience with it. I just haven't gotten to the part where I'd have to, I guess, tell the difference between those two things.
Yeah, so you're familiar then with like the remote repositories and stuff like this. So you can have as many remote repositories set up on your system as you want. And a really common workflow on large projects, especially where you're not really intimate with the main developers, is to fork the project into your own repository. There's a couple advantages, or there's a couple reasons why you might do that. Number one, to kind of keep your version of playing with the code and poking the code separate from like the main repository. And also, it kind of is nice in terms of like if there's a project that you really like that you want to make sure is available in the future, you can create a fork of it so that way you have your own version. And on GitHub, it's really easy. When you're on a repository page, you just click the fork this project, and it basically creates your own personal repository for the project. And essentially, what you're able to do then is you're able to, so you're familiar with the idea of pushing up your code to a remote repository, up to GitHub, for instance. You're able to then kind of have that benefit of having that remote backup, the code hosted online, but not having it kind of mingling with the actual main project. So imagine you're wanting to help contribute to a massive project with that's had years and years of history, and you're kind of like, yeah, I shouldn't really be messing with this. Well, you can kind of pull your own fork over and work with it as you wish, and when you're happy with the branch that you've been working on, you can then do a pull request or a merge request from your GitHub repository into the main other project, like the main master. Oftentimes it's referred to as the upstream project. So then you end up with the benefits of being able to have the online code repository. Your code is backed up and nice, but it's still kept private until you're actually ready to do like an official, hey, I want to contribute this kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I'm going to Google a little more, but yeah, that definitely puts things in perspective.
I mean, from GitHub, you're then able to do if you push up a branch, I think there's even a quick link that says like, hey, you just pushed to this branch. Do you want to merge this into the upstream branch? Maybe that's just a GitLab thing. I use both systems, but it makes it really easy to have all the benefits of a remote repository and also push the code upstream further when you're finally happy with it. It's a nice system for when there's many different developers working on a project and they're kind of maybe not super, it's not a really tight-knit team, for instance.
Okay.
Yeah, and kind of to kind of clear things up with everyone, if you have not worked on a team project, then that's why a lot of these things are sounding a little bit foreign, because when you're working on your own code base, you don't have to worry about, branching and doing all these other things, because everything is yours. You're the only one working on it. When you're working on a team project, then you're running into issues of you don't want everyone pushing directly to master, because then that's going to be a moving target. You're going to have all kinds of quirks. So you want to have your master be the clean, final, production-ready code. And then before anything gets merged into master, you want to make sure you have some kind of code review, some kind of tests that verify that whatever you're now merging into master is not going to have any issues. So with that being said, if you have not worked on a team, then don't worry. Just ping us and we'll help you kind of get set up and doing all that. And you'll see it's not that complicated. Saran has a good tutorial on working with Git and GitHub on the team setting and pull requests and all that. Farish, do you remember if that's a recorded thing?
I don't think it is. I think the last thing she done on Git was her workflow.
I remember there's something being
video on adding team members.
very cool. I'll find out. I'll find out what where that is, and then we'll post it on as one of the resources on the Trello board, and hopefully that'll help everyone. But don't worry, it's nothing that you're not going to be able to get a grasp on. We'll help you through it.
Speaking of which, please send me a private message with your email so I can add you to Trello.
Who was that?
I need people to send me a private message with their email so I can add them to Trello. I only have 2 people right now.
Oh, okay. I'll send you one in a bit. You need emails, right?
Yes.
So I got a question.
Sure, go ahead, Rob.
I'm looking at the Trello board. I think it's the Trello board. Project 2 committed. And I see users. I'm not seeing much in the way of cards. Like things. This is where features are going to be, right?
Sorry about that.
Right. We just started. I did just a basic outline. We
okay.
didn't make the final decision to use Trello until about a third into this call.
Okay.
So you'll see them there. In other words, it's a work in progress right now. Right now, a lot of these things we're speccing out while we're talking about it. So Farish and Monish, he's out of the call already. Oh, thanks, Victor. Victor put the Saran's Git discussion, so that would be very helpful, Diana.
Scotty Runyon just joined.
Let's see.
We got Victor Keenan, Scotty Runyon, Diana.
Very cool. So we'll have a lot of people just joining on this, and that'll help out. So I think as just kind of closing-ish remarks, let's make sure that everyone gets me their GitHub name so they can be added as a collaborator. Let's get everyone to send Farish their email so they can get added to Trello. And how can we assign ourselves one of the features on Trello, Farish? Would you mind kind of breaking that down, or maybe giving a quick screen share on what a practical way of doing that would be?
That might have to be Monish because I haven't got that far. This was the first time I used Trello.
Okay, so I'll figure something out, and then we'll post something in the Ruby Monday channel so we can work on that.
I also made you as an admin, Angel, of the
thanks,
Trello.
I appreciate that.
It's very easy. If you click a card, one of the option is members. Just click the little icon of the person that you want to add to that card, and that's the person that's assigned to that card.
Oh, cool. All right, so we'll figure this out, and we'll make it easy for everyone to jump on. Does anyone want to take on a ticket verbally right now that they think they want to take on? Now, don't worry if it seems a little bit outside of your comfort level. You can always get help on the channel and pair program and do all that. Anything that caught anyone's attention? Christopher, something else you want to take on right now since the initial app got set up?
Sure, I'll take something on. Let me review the Slack channel and see what I'm interested in.
Sure. And same thing with Diana. If you want to take on something, even if it seems a little bit out of your comfort level, please take it, and then just let's get the help from the people on the channel. And Rob, sorry, Rob, I don't know if I cut you off.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I wouldn't mind taking on writing up some of the RSpec.
Cool. So you want to at least get us our initial setup of RSpec, and then post on the channel what would be our initial way of taking on this. You know, if we're thinking of an outside-in approach, what are the initial tests that we need to start actually building this out.
Um,
But for step one, just get our spec set up, commit it, and get it up and running.
okay.
All right.
I'd
Let's
like to
see.
hit up setting up the achievements model.
Who was that? Sorry, I missed the.
Oh, that was Christopher.
Oh, cool. All right, perfect. Let's set that up. Let's start thinking of what items, what columns we want on that model, and then start setting that up. So
Okay.
whatever you're asking to work on, if you wouldn't mind just posting it on the Ruby Monday channel, and that way when Farish and Monish get to it, we can start putting those assigned to you already. And then Tim's working on getting that vagrant for us because that's going to be very helpful. And I'm going to be super happy about that. Anyone else want to take on something from the get-go? Victor is doing Bootstrap. Awesome. Our spec, I think, is going to be Rob, Diana.
I'll go crazy. I'll take on the authentication.
Oh, nice. Very nice. So that's going to be Scott, the device and authentication. That's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Diana, would you like to work on getting our HTTP party jump set up? And that'll help you kind of, since you're going to be looking up info on APIs, that'll help you kind of get a little bit of background on that while you're setting it up. Awesome. And if you get stuck, feel free to ping us on the channel. Jesus, what do you want to do now? Jesus wants to make a custom programming language. What do you want to call your language, Jesus?
I don't know. Super Ruby.
Super Ruby? Super, not like Ruby. Let's call it not like Ruby. Very cool. All right. Well, does anyone have any final comments for this? We're up against the time that we usually get to this. Does anyone have any kind of interesting coding things that they found out during the week? Jesus showed us how to assign a string to a variable in different ways. Anything else? Anyone else run into anything interesting this week? Any interesting gems, challenges that you've taken on?
I have a project that I started up that I would like opinions on.
Go for it.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Settings. No, that's not it. Step 1, sharing your screen. Chat. Screen share. Here we go. Let's go with that. Alright. So, let me move over to this. Can everyone see my screen?
Let's see. Not quite yet. Let's see. You're not an Ubuntu ops, are you?
You can't see my screen?
No. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Okay, so this is a gamification of work and school. I'm calling it Desk and Dragons. Just something I threw out there. So every single job you take on, every task you take on at work has some inherent lessons learned in reading, writing, collaboration with other people, and there's base skills, and the base skills lead into more advanced skills that allow you to cast spells or work abilities like investigate and or hold a Skype call meeting, advanced stuff like that. Anyway, so it kind of works like the old dungeon yarn where you go into town, you buy some weaponry, you go into a dungeon, you kill a monster, it gives you experience and gives you money, and you go and get a better weapon, and you have more hit points, and so on and so forth. Except it's from a work environment. Does this make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, here's my basic D&D. It creates a splash. It calls the game module. The game module gets into creates a character. Character works off of an entity class. Got communication, reading, writing, street cred. Street cred is when you perform favors for up-and-coming tasks that might be thrown your way. Someone hits your desk and you fix it for them. You get street cred, which allows you to get help on things you got going on.
You like a couple lines of code in, and you already got a show it in action request.
Show it in action. All right, sure. Let's see. Do we have it? It's not much right now. But here we go. There we go. So, can you see this bottom here? Maybe if I blow it up. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I can't blow it up. That sucks. Can you see this, or is this too small?
It's a little bit small, but I think we might be able to see it.
What can I do about that? Control.
I think we can see it though. It's fine.
Okay. Hit enter. Right now it's a screen, but just I have a display mode. Got a character. I've got 1 street credit. I've got 1 communication, 2 reading ability, memory, investigation, best practices. When this gets up to a certain point, abilities will unlock, like, I don't know, I haven't thought that far along, but something advanced where it, did you catch the article about, or the podcast that Ruby Rogues did about imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
This kind of stuff will fight over that. It's kind of a collection of empirical evidence that as you take on these tasks and finish them, you rock at these things, and you can go forth and do things that you might have stopped yourself from doing because you didn't think you were good enough. But hey, you got this empirical evidence, and you got a database of tasks that you took on where you picked up these skills. Nice. Remember when you did this thing and it was so cool, and you communicated with that person, you didn't think that you could do it, but you forget about that kind of stuff.
I think it's in line with what we're trying to accomplish with our app here, which is really cool. You might be able to bring some of that over.
Sure.
You have a hand raise on that, if you don't mind. Do you want to continue talking a little bit, or do you want to focus a little bit on the code and get some feedback on code?
Yeah, sure. If you want to give feedback, the thing I was looking for is to possibly get a back-end persistence layer going. I do not know how to put couple this to a database layer without going into Ruby on Rails, and that's not what this is yet.
Right. So this is just a straight Ruby app.
Yeah.
Are you using anything on the back end for that? Or is it like a Sinatra, or is it just
There's no back end yet. It's straight Ruby right now, but I want a back end. I want persistence for... I'm going to need persistence for the skills and for probably the characters so that I can go away from it and come back.
I think you got some ideas already from Jesus. He's putting them on the chat. But how about we do this? Because we're brushing up against the time we have. Let's do this. Let's get a little bit of feedback on the code. I think Jesus wanted to give you a little bit, if you don't mind, of course, on the feedback and some code he spotted. After that, we'll end the Ruby Monday Hangout, but feel free to continue chatting about some of the ideas on the questions you had after that.
Sounds
Does
great.
that work for you, Rob?
Yeah.
Perfect. So go ahead, Jesus, if you had some comments on some code.
Yes. So Rob, do you have a Java background or some other programming language?
Yeah, I've done a little Java, a little JavaScript, a little bit around the edges. Lots of basic,
Mhm.
Visual Basic, maybe some C, a little C sharp.
Okay, so I notice your method names, and in Ruby we don't write the method names like that. We write we write them with an underscore between the. So instead of get writing, we will say get writing like that. So you look at the chat.
So I think what
Got it.
really quick for those that are looking at kind of the code that Rob is sharing. So it's not that it won't work. It's just kind of standard practices,
Yeah.
best practices for the language you're working in. So I noticed it too. Rob, you're writing in I think it's called camel case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where you start with the underscore and then caps lock the next word. I mean shift or capitalize the next word.
Yeah,
So
we're getting that's my bad. I've gotten into this Ranorex. I can't split screen this because I can, but uh, okay. Um, I've gotten into doing Ranorex, which is uh, Visual Basic and .NET-ish,
Mm-hmm.
right.
and we got talked into doing a camel case thing, so that's what I got on my brain. I can
Yeah, yeah,
switch back to underscore.
yeah. That's why I ask about your background, because Java people coming from Java or C Sharp tend to do camel case, and in Ruby with the snake case.
Sounds good. I will forever. I'll change all of that over. I have no problem doing it.
It's just little
And,
conventions, right? That kind of keep you in line with what everyone's doing, and
and
it's easier to.
And also you don't need these methods, the setter and getters methods, because we have in Ruby a thing called accessors, which we create the getters and setters for you.
Oh, setters and getters. So, um, all of these are superfluous. I can just change it to accessor and
So there is a getter accessor, so you can say a getter accessor and the method name.
And Jesus was putting these in the Google Hangout chat
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you as well.
Then you have at the accessor memory, then you don't need get memory and set memory. If you have a tether accessor communication, then you don't need the set communication and the set get communication.
and there's no reason why I can't do something like you know. Hold on. Oh, okay. Method. Comma. I could do it like that. Can I do it like that? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. No, you have to do the attribute
One.
accessor and the variable name, and then you can do comma, another variable name, comma, another variable name. So you
Okay.
can have multiple.
I think the
I,
only thing you were missing there was
A colon in front
the
of
colon
memory.
for your variable name.
mhm.
There you go.
Yeah, they have to be symbols, the names.
Very cool. All right, we're a little bit over the time, so let me do this. Thanks everyone for joining the Hangout. I'm going to stop the recording now, and that way we can just let this go to YouTube over the discussions we had. Thank you again for offering to contribute to some of these projects that we have underway. I think it'll be a fun experience. Feel free to ask for help on the Ruby Monday Slack channel, and then any questions, feel free to ping us on there. So thanks, everyone. I'm going to stop the broadcast. If you want to continue in the Hangout, that's fine. It's not a problem. Okay, bye.
Thank you.